This guy got his head shaved, this one was forced to crawl on the floor like a dog, and this one got slapped and punched in the face repeatedly. And let's not forget the arrests, the jail time, and the reputations that are ruined forever. These guys get humiliated on camera while millions watch and laugh. Ever since Chris Hansen made predator stings famous on To Catch a Predator starting in 2004, people have loved the hidden cameras and dramatic arrests. But then the show ended in 2007, and once Hansen stepped back, a new wave of influencer predator hunters popped up on YouTube and TikTok. These guys film stings with their phones and live stream instead of hidden cameras and police. But things have gotten a lot messier now. These influencers have been threatened, beaten, arrested, jailed, shot at, and even killed, all while trying to turn chaotic confrontations into viral content. Here are the most insane ones. Vitali really thought he was coming back as the new Chris Hansen, but his predator catching era was nothing like Chris's. It had grenades, rappers, and alligators. On May 5th, 2024, Vitali and Ty Dolla $ign streamed a child predator confrontation that went absolutely viral. The livestream started with Vitali pacing in circles in a narrow Los Angeles alleyway. While he was at it, he was hyping up the chat and explaining that the man they were about to confront had been chatting online with someone he believed was a 15-year-old boy. The alleged predator, later identified on stream only by his first name, Ferdinand was very confused when he got there and saw that multiple cameras were rolling and thousands of people were watching live on Kick. Vitali immediately stepped into Ferdinand's personal space. Then Vitali started reading aloud screenshots of messages where Ferdinand discussed meeting up and doing the deed with the 15-year-old. Vitali repeatedly asked him slowly and loudly, "Why do you want to meet a 15-year-old boy to sleep with him?" Ty Dolla $ign stood slightly behind Vitali when Vitali said this. Of course, Ferdinand stammered, denied everything, and tried to walk backward out of frame. But as Ferdinand attempted to leave, Vitali blocked his path, calling him a danger and a threat. The chat was having the time of their lives because they laughed, donated money, and cheered as the shaving continued for several seconds. The disturbing part is that the entire thing aired live without any cuts. In that same May 5th, 2024 livestream, viewers saw Vitali cornering alleged predators on the street, shouting accusations at them while the cameras kept rolling and a growing crowd watched. But Vitali wasn't satisfied. On May 17th, 2024, Vitali and Aiden Ross teamed up for yet another predator sting. They used a hidden camera setup and a decoy posing as a minor. 24-year-old Moses Flores Coelho showed up thinking he was meeting a 15-year-old, but who, or rather what, he met instead was an alligator. The alligator was part of the stunt before local Miami-Dade police were called and took him into custody. But Vitali started to get into some serious trouble. In June 2024, a California man named Daniel Prieto Jr. filed a 17-count lawsuit against Vitali, claiming he was wrongfully accused of being a predator, physically and mentally abused, and that video was edited to maximize public outrage and completely destroy his reputation. That was only the beginning. Another lawsuit came from Hollywood screenwriter C.J. Cox, who said Vitali's crew wrongfully accused him of being a pedo during a live stream, and that the resulting public humiliation cost him professionally. Even people online have pointed fingers at Vitali's methods. Many Reddit threads mocked his over-the-top antics, stage setups, and actors in his stings. Then, his critics' prayers were finally answered in April 2025. Vitali was arrested in the Philippines on harassment and nuisance charges for livestream pranks unrelated to predators. And although he posted bail in June 2025, authorities kept him detained as an undesirable alien facing multiple counts including unjust anger and theft. With so much to worry about, Vitali got the result of trying to do good with the wrong methods. This next predator hunter, on the other hand, went loud, public, and slightly unhinged on purpose. In early 2023, JiDion, whose real name is JiDion Amarni Adams, already had a reputation for public stunts, mall bans, and escalating situations until security showed up. Before predators were even part of the equation, he had already been permanently banned from different malls in Texas, temporarily banned from Twitch in January 2022, and publicly trespassed on NBA arenas to film prank videos. In fact, He was even banned from NBA and WNBA games and Wimbledon for his stunts. Keep all that in mind, it'll matter later in the story. Because when JiDion decided to change course and get into pred catching content, people already know who he was. One of his earliest videos people still pass around involving JiDion is from March 2023. It was filmed inside a Texas shopping center, and in that incident, JiDion confronted a man he alleged had been communicating online with a decoy posing as a 13-year-old girl. The man showed up wearing a gray hoodie and a baseball cap pulled low, and immediately tried to leave when JiDion said, "You drove here to meet a kid, right?" JiDion followed him around the mall, saying this loudly so everyone could hear, repeating the alleged messages word for word while shoppers stared, phones out, and pointing. According to reports, the man fled the scene, but he was caught and arrested by local law enforcement. In another confrontation from May 2023, JiDion met an alleged predator, a 34-year-old man named Charles Mellick, in a Walmart parking lot in Albany, Oregon. This time, the man arrived in a blue sedan, but he stayed in the car at first. It wasn't until JiDion approached him that he stepped out. JiDion kept it conversational, but relentlessly asked, "Why are you meeting a middle schooler at night?" The whole time, the man avoided eye contact and repeatedly said, "I didn't do anything." At one point, the man attempted to get back into his car, but JiDion stood in front of the door until Albany police sirens could be heard in the distance. He had informed them before meeting the predator. JiDion had the whole thing on video. Although the video cut before the predator's arrest, Mellick was subsequently taken into custody on parole violation and is being investigated on charges tied to the sting. After that, JiDion's tactics stayed consistent. Public locations, loud narration, screenshots read out loud, letting embarrassment do the work. In July 2023, he confronted another alleged predator outside a fast food restaurant in Marion County, Indiana. This time bringing the man's own profile photos up on screen and asking him to explain each message line by line. The man allegedly sent text to a decoy account he thought belonged to a 14-year-old on Grindr. Like the predator in JiDion's Texas shopping center sting, this man also ran. Police later arrested him on charges of attempted dissemination of indecent material to minors and attempting to forcefully sleep with a minor. Criticism followed fast. Lawyers, former law enforcement officers, and even other predator hunters accused JiDion of contaminating evidence, tipping suspects off before police arrived, and prioritizing viral moments over actual convictions. They even reminded people of the very long list of places he was banned from. JiDion addressed all this backlash directly in an August 2023 video saying he wasn't playing cop. He admitted he didn't expect arrest every time and openly stated that public exposure was important. Despite the backlash, there are people saying they didn't care if arrests happened as long as the confrontations did. And JiDion leaned into that energy, even while admitting the legal side was messy. But to be fair, messy is kind of his brand. Speaking of messy, Skeeter Jean is one of the predator catchers who actually scares other predator catchers because of how messy his methods are. While most of these guys thrive on chaos, yelling, and viral humiliation, Skeeter shows up calm, really quiet, and very prepared, like he knows exactly how the story ends. And 9 times out of 10, he does. Skeeter Jean started uploading predator catching content around 2020. His earliest predator sting videos date back to late 2020 on YouTube, and he was operating mainly in Michigan. Online, they call him Skeet Hansen. He has never publicly disclosed his legal name. He says that's to protect his family and avoid retaliation. When it comes to his stings, unlike JiDion's loud mall confrontations, Skeeter's setups usually begins days earlier. He uses decoy accounts posing as minors, then documents every message, saves timestamps, records chat logs, and coordinates locations that are already known to local police, or at least public places. By the time the predator shows up, Skeeter already has a folder ready with screenshots, avatar images, and exact scheduled meetup coordinates. In multiple videos, he shows printed chat logs, phone screenshots, usernames, profile photos, GPS meetup confirmations, and even geolocated messaging timestamps before the suspect even says anything. One of his most shared clips is from late 2022. It was filmed in a quiet Colorado Springs parking lot outside a strip mall. In that sting, a suspect later identified in the media as 51-year-old Eric Joseph Kerpel pulled up in a dark sedan. He was with someone. Eric stepped out wearing a zip-up jacket, jeans, and a baseball cap, and was immediately shocked when Skeeter walked up and calmly said, "So you're here to meet a 14-year-old." Kerpel tried to say he was just talking, but in response, Skeeter read the explicit messages line by line, including times, dates, emojis used, planned meetup times, and the exact hotel lobby coordinates Kerpel had agreed to. Kerpel visibly started shaking and started looking around for exits. Police were later called and both he and the other man with them were arrested and charged with accosting children for immoral purposes and using a computer to commit a crime at a Zukukan anime convention. Another moment people bring up happened in March 2023 outside a grocery store in Aurora, Colorado. The suspect, later identified in comments as 27-year-old Brennan Michael Schwartz, showed up in the same convention weekend holding grocery bags, clearly trying to look normal and blend in with the others. Skeeter waited until he put the bags down, then asked, "Why are you meeting a 13-year-old today?" Schwartz initially tried to give excuses like saying his friend's brother uses his phone and might have texted the decoy. When that didn't work, he tried walking away saying he was confused and had the wrong address, but Skeeter followed him at walking pace, reading messages including one where Schwartz discussed secrecy and instructed the decoy to delete chat history. Police arrived within minutes and Schwartz was handcuffed on camera and put into a patrol car. But Skeeter's biggest flex in all the stings is the arrests. In 2023 alone, many suspects from his videos were confirmed arrested, charged, or later prosecuted on counts ranging from accosting children for immoral purposes to using a computer to commit a crime after Skeeter presented full chat logs to local law enforcement. He openly says he waits until police tell him when to approach because sometimes officers show up at the location before the confrontation starts. He usually stands several feet away, hands in view, letting officers take control once the confrontation is complete. That's also why other predator catchers hate him. Some still accuse him of entrapment, but law enforcement officials in multiple jurisdictions have publicly stated that decoys presenting themselves truthfully as minors early in a conversation means the suspect voluntarily continued, which helps justify probable cause when charges follow. Skeeter himself said in June 2023 that he doesn't bait. He just waits for people to say too much, and most suspects incriminate themselves long before he ever reveals his fake age. While Skeeter is more of a one-man squad, Alex Rosen and his Predator Poachers crew have always been that chaotic vigilante and content creator group you can't look away from. Rosen started Predator Poachers in 2019 in Houston, Texas, when he was 19 years old. He told reporters that the spark came from creating a fake Instagram account posing as a 15-year-old. Within minutes, an adult later identified only as a hospital worker in Houston allegedly wanted to sleep with a 15-year-old. That, according to Rosen, showed him how fast some adults will go after a kid. He said he felt law enforcement wasn't fast enough in catching these predators, so he thought, if I can catch these people on camera, maybe someone will act. In 2020, his Predator Poachers crew was actively creating decoy profiles and coordinating with local police in different states, though not always officially. But it led to both viral content and, well, legal headaches. An example is the December 2021 sting in Pulaski County, Southern Kentucky. The suspect, identified in court filings as Adams, drove up in a silver sedan. He kept looking around nervously as Rosen and his crew stood by a shopping center entrance with cameras rolling. Rosen read aloud screenshots of messages the suspect allegedly sent to the decoy account, including timestamps and exact phrases as the man tried to stammer, "I thought this was someone else." Rosen wasn't having it. He stayed on him, walking side by side, narrating what was on the phone and even making jokes like, "Nice try, buddy," but the internet never sleeps. The man tried to walk away, but crew members blocked the exits while Rosen gestured to the police on standby. The police then took the suspect into custody. Another intense moment happened in Evansville, Indiana on December 12, 2023. David Allen Wilson arrived at a parking lot outside a convenience store wearing a gray sweatshirt and a black cap, visibly nervous. Rosen calmly walked up and asked, "So you're here to meet a 13-year-old, huh?" He then read aloud messages where Wilson allegedly asked the decoy for pictures, discussed secrecy, and then planned the meetup. Wilson tried to argue, but Rosen's crew showed the camera the decoy's profile, the timestamps, and screenshots of prior communications before Evansville police arrived and arrested him. Rosen filmed the handcuffing and joked, "See kids, this is why you never lie to adults on the internet." And then in August 2025, 78-year-old Frank Lopez Jr. of Bryan, Texas, was caught after predator poachers submitted evidence to law enforcement. Officers found 35 videos classified as explicit child material on Lopez devices, after reviewing chat logs where he allegedly believed he was communicating with a 12-year-old. You won't believe that just less than a month, on July 28, 2025, Lopez was the first arrested, released on a $515,000 bond, and then taken back into custody when police executed a warrant. Rosen posted a live stream of the sting online, and in it, he showed the seized computer, chats, and timestamps. Lopez thought he could hide behind his age. Now, here's when legal trouble hit Rosen too. On March 27, 2025, he confronted a 35-year-old Joshua Teague at a Steak and Shake in Branson, Missouri, yelling accusations while cameras rolled. Store management asked Rosen to leave, but he refused, saying he was confronting an employee he claimed was caught in a predator-poacher sting operation, so they called the police on him. Branson police arrested Rosen for misdemeanor peace disturbance. Luckily, felony harassment and trespassing counts were dropped in a plea deal. But on August 26, 2025, in Taney County Circuit Court, Rosen was sentenced to 2 years of unsupervised probation with a condition barring him from Steak and Shake properties. Regardless, predator poachers continue to travel and livestream confrontations with predators. Meanwhile, a guy who calls himself Schlemp handles his own kind of predator catching on Roblox. His real name is Michael. He doesn't share his last name online, but we do know that he's a 22-year-old Texas YouTuber who went from being a longtime gamer and abuse survivor to one of the most controversial predator hunters in online gaming. Schlemp has been playing Roblox since age 8, but when he was around 15 years old, he was groomed by another Roblox user. He never forgot this and even said it was so traumatic that he tried to end his own life. He claims his work on Roblox helped lead to 6 alleged predator arrests, but Roblox banned him for it. On August 9, 2025, Schlemp posted screenshots on X, and in the screenshots, there was a cease and desist letter from Roblox Corp threatening legal action if he didn't stop what they called unauthorized and harmful activities. That included creating decoy accounts that impersonated minors and then moving conversations off the platform to catch alleged adult predators. In the letter, Roblox explicitly said his actions violate Roblox policies and directly undermine Roblox's safety efforts, and that his failure to report suspicious activity through official channels was actively interfering with the platform's safety protocols and exposing users to risk. Those were Roblox's words, not Schlemp's. Schlemp responded the same day with a video titled "Cease and Desist, Roblox Ban Unfair," where he insisted his decoys never initiated explicit conversations, and that the messages were collected mainly on Discord, so supposed entrapment claims were false. And that's only half of it. He also said that he did report everything to law enforcement and that police actually thanked him for the evidence in several arrests. 2 days later, on August 11, 2025, Schlemp shared screenshots on X of the official legal notice. All his Roblox accounts since his childhood had been terminated, including ones he used to communicate with suspects. Roblox had a defendant's name, and it did that in an August 14, 2025 statement. Roblox said vigilante sting operations like Schlemp's normalize prohibited behavior by simulating child chats and directing users off the platform, instead of using official in-game reporting tools. The company then encouraged people to use its moderation systems, trusted flagger program, and in-game tools because screenshots alone weren't always verifiable. But Schlemp wasn't having any of it. It became a hot back and forth. On August 21, 2025, he publicly blasted Roblox's defense as a joke, saying, "We work with law enforcement. We have 6 arrests of child predators. Why did you do nothing about felony child predator arrest we were sending you?" Then, on August 18, 2025, Roblox players staged #FreeSchlemp protest in-game, with avatars standing in town squares and headline overlays calling for his return. Screenshots and clips of those protests spread across TikTok and Reddit. Meanwhile, US Representative Ro Khanna launched a petition in support of transparency around Roblox child safety, saying the platform is simply not doing enough to protect kids. The whole Schlemp saga has even gone so far as multiple state attorney general lawsuits going against Roblox for child safety failures. Then in late 2025, Schlemp's legal team, including influencer lawyer Law by Mike, announced a push to sue Roblox for its ban, claiming the company prioritized optics over user safety. As Schlemp fights Roblox, law enforcement can't forget the hard time Dads Against Predators, or DAP for short, have given them. On October 19, 2020, 50-year-old Sandusky County Sheriff Christopher Hilton stood in front of police chiefs and the county prosecutor in Fremont, Ohio, reading a public warning letter to Dads Against Predators. At the time, DAP had two members, 29-year-old Joshua Alvin Michael Mundy and 28-year-old J. Cameron Carnicom. Christopher Hilton said their tactic of posing as children online, luring suspected adults, and then recording and posting the interaction online was reckless and dangerous, and could land them criminal charges under Ohio law if they didn't stop. The letter clearly stated the group's actions fail to potentially realize that it is creating seriously hazardous and potentially dangerous situations in community settings. But DAP didn't stop. On June 28, 2022, a 25-year-old Dante Kintrill Wade from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, received a meetup app message from the DAP decoy and agreed to meet at the Target on Haynes Mall Boulevard. Wade arrived, looking around nervously before three DAP members, Mundy, Carnicom, and a 37-year-old Jason Doan Chips, walked up with their phones filming. Wade got shoved against a shelf near the electronics section, and Jason Chips started reading alleged messages out loud, including conversations about meeting a 14-year-old. Wade tried to slap the phone away, and a physical fight broke out, and that's when things got really bad. Wade pulled out a handgun from inside his waistband and fired one round into Carnicom's lower right leg. This caused Carnicom to back up. Wade then dropped the weapon after another DAP member wrestled it from him, and all three vigilantes ran out the store and into a white four-door car with Ohio plates. Wade was later treated for minor head and face injuries at Forsyth Hospital. Winston-Salem police issued arrest warrants on December 29, 2022 for Carnicom, Mundy, and Chips for simple affray, while Wade faced a warrant for simple affray and carrying a concealed handgun. But DAP still didn't stop. In April 2022 in Cleveland, Ohio, DAP showed up at a Walmart in Steelyard Commons with a photo of a man they claim was trying to meet a 13-year-old boy. The man tried to walk past them, but they shouted, "This man is here to meet a 13-year-old!" causing bystanders to stop and watch. A Cuyahoga County deputy asked how they knew, and one dad said, "We do this across the county. We're Dads Against Predators." The deputy responded that under Ohio law, those messages couldn't be used in court unless it was a real child or law enforcement posing as a child. DAP couldn't get what they wanted for the most part, but you know who did? Groups called Guardians of the North and Dark Justice. They are like the OG UK Predator Hunter teams, and some of the stuff they've done is just wild. Dark Justice started back in October 2014 by two guys from Newcastle who went by the names Scott and Callum. They made fake profiles pretending to be kids between the ages of 11 and 15 online. When their victims hit them up, they chatted with them and reported everything to the police before handing them over. Over the years, their work has been used in court for over 115 convictions of online groomers. And I can't lie, that's actually really impressive. By May 2018, police reported over 150 arrests tied to these kinds of vigilante stings. Sometimes people they helped catch were older guys in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s. But there's one case that even the UK news talked about. 29-year-old Mirza Bag was walking into Blue Water Shopping Center in Greenhithe, Kent with condoms in his pocket, thinking he was about to meet a 14-year-old he texted. Dark Justice alerted the cops, and in Maidstone Crown Court in August, Bag was convicted to be jailed for 40 months. Then you've got Guardians of the North, who started later, but they were just as hardcore. In late 2017, a 15-year-old guy named Stephen Williams from Inverness thought he was messaging a 13-year-old girl on Facebook Messenger. He sent explicit texts asking for pictures of her knickers and saying he couldn't wait to hold and touch her. But little did he know, it wasn't a kid at all. It was a 38-year-old woman from Guardians pretending to be a 13-year-old girl. When he showed up for a meetup near a cafe, Guardians had all the chat logs printed out, showed them to the cops, and Williams got sentenced at Inverness Sheriff Court to 3 years supervision, 180 hours of unpaid work, and 3 years on the sex offenders registry. There's another case that honestly sounds like something straight out of a movie. In 2025, a man known only as Smith was on bail after one sting, but then he got caught again talking to a decoy named Louise, a supposed 14-year-old. In Newcastle Crown Court, he told the judge he thought he was talking to a kid, and the judge, Tim Gittins, basically said, "You messed up twice." Smith ended up with a 3-year community service order, had to be listed on the sex offenders registry for 5 years, and got hit with a 7-year sexual harm prevention order instead of jail time. But it's not all good news when it comes to these predator hunters. A perfect example is Boopac Shakir, who had a very unfortunate end. 40-year-old Boopac Shakir's real name was Robert Wayne Lee from Pontiac, Michigan. He often hung out with dads against predators, doing the whole pretend to be a teen online and catch creeps thing. People knew him online as the guy who would literally message adults pretending to be a 15-year-old girl, get them to spill all their dumb plans, and then confront them in real life. He had a lot of fans too, with tons of people watching his confrontations live or clips after. But one Friday night, things took a very bad turn. It was September 29th, 2023, around 10:30 p.m., and Boopac walked into Universal Coney Island in Pontiac. He was in his usual black hoodie and jeans, ready to do his thing, when he spotted 2 teens, one about 17 and the other 18, sitting in a booth eating fries. He went up to them and started calling out the 18-year-old whom he thought was a predator. Lee started speaking too loudly for their liking, and the whole thing escalated. Boopac threw the first punch at the 17-year-old, and customers started screaming as some tried to flee the scene, while some looked even closer to see what would happen next. Suddenly, the 18-year-old pulled out a knife and the 17-year-old pulled out a gun. Shots were fired and Boopac went down near the ketchup bottles. The teens ran out the back and EMS rushed Boopac to the hospital. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard later confirmed that Boopac was shot multiple times. Sadly, the next day, Boopac didn't make it. His fans online freaked out. Reddit was filled with reactions, as some called him reckless, while others called him brave. People still argue sometimes whether he actually cared about catching predators, or if he just loved the chaos. Now get this, both the kid who pulled the gun and the 18-year-old he was with were both caught, but Boopac isn't alive anymore. So was the 18-year-old really a predator? You could hate on these predator catchers, saying they're just chasing clout, setting traps that could count as entrapment, or straight up cashing in on people's awful impulses for views and money. But if you scroll through the comments on these videos, people really don't care. They've got millions of views on each video and thousands of comments cheering them on and celebrating the humiliation of predators. As long as predators are getting caught, exposed, and embarrassed, critics' complaints are just background noise. They don't care if it's Chris Hansen doing the catching or not. If you want to see more wild predator stories like this, then hit that subscribe button. You can check out our other videos to see all the different kinds of predators Chris Hansen himself has taken down, from the most arrogant to the dumbest.